One of these 6 decisions in your midlife crisis might cost you a year of pain and deciding your outcome. When we hit midlife blindfolded, we can make costly mistakes that prolong suffering and drain savings. I lived this. I hit the wall, paid for my mistakes, and rebuilt myself from the ground up. In the next few minutes, I'll map the 6 decisions and the exact choices that turn your breakdown into your breakthrough. Stay to the end for a 30 seconds decision checklist, and I'll dismantle the one excuse that keeps people stuck for years. Decision 1. Face it or numb it. Most people don't enter a midlife crisis, they avoid it. They bury the pain under distractions, grinding harder, buying things they can't afford, dating to avoid the silence, chasing excitement so they don't have to face the real questions. We tend to numb instead of feel. We tend to distract instead of feel, and avoid instead of confront. And the bad advice here is to avoid discomfort and go distraction. Work, alcohol, date a younger yoga instructor, get that red sports convertible car that you can't afford. And a good advice would be pause and do your research about what it is that you are feeling right now. Because the midlife crisis isn't the problem, but numbing that crisis is the problem. Because whatever we avoid will eventually run our lives from the shadows. What we resist persists. We can numb our pain temporarily, but we can't numb the truth. We are going to die, and that's the truth. And the sooner we learn to live comfortably with that truth, the sooner we will feel better. Once we stop distracting ourselves from that truth and start feeling what's really underneath, clarity comes. Crisis doesn't destroy us, denial does. Decision 2. Regret the past or redefine the future. At some point, we look at ourselves and think, we failed. We didn't become who we thought we would be. That's not a depression, that's grief. We're grieving the death of the version of ourselves that only existed in our imagination. That 20-year-old fantasy of who I should have been by now. The bad advice is to regret failing to meet that standards you set in your 20s. And a good advice, allow those standards to die and defy new standards. Jung said that midlife forces individuation. The moment our ego self collapses, so our soul can finally step in. We're not failing the old standards. The old standards are failing us. The person we thought we would be was never real. It was the imagination of a little kid that didn't understand what life is at all. And he created this version of himself without even knowing who he was. We're not going to become that. Let it go. Let him rest in peace. Decision 3. Logic or intuition? Logic. Logic is safe, predictable, and familiar. But logic only takes us places we already seen. Intuition, on the other hand, takes us places our minds cannot even imagine. Bad advice would be trust that inner voice. Good advice, trust intuition. Ignore the inner voice. The moment we listen to our intuition, and more importantly, follow the intuition, life begins to rearrange itself for us. Doors open, people appear, synchronicities explode. I started tracking mine, and after 800 plus documented synchronicities, I stopped questioning whether intuition was real and start asking, what happens when we actually follow it? That turned into a book. Logic takes us where we've already been. Intuition, on the other hand, takes us where we meant to go. But never, I repeat, never mix our inner voice with our intuition. They are not the same. In fact, they're complete opposites. Decision 4. Self-help or asking for help. Self-help doesn't work. It's a marketing trap. The entire category of Amazon book, it's a marketing trap. This entire industry is a scam. And what really works? Wait until the next decision. Bad advice, consume endless self-help and chasing to fix yourself. Good advice, skip any book on self-help. They don't work and you'll feel even worse. Self-help is the hamster wheel of personal growth. You read a book, you get motivated, you apply a trick, You notice a temporary improvement, and then it all fades. Your life stays the same, but now you're even more miserable. Self-help says, fix yourself. But the more you try to fix yourself, the harder the pain, because there's nothing to be fixed. You want to know what actually works? Decision 5, meditation. Meditation is the only leverage that works. Only awareness, only presence. You don't change by thinking new thoughts. You change by observing thoughts without believing in them and doing the actual hard work, regardless that thoughts. You go and do stuff. That's how you change. And bad advice is to trying to think positive your way into a new life. Good advice, observe your thoughts without believing them. And your inner voice will say, you can't do that. You don't have enough time. You're not prepared. You're falling behind, yada, yada. And you go and do it regardless that inner voice. So meditation, yes, it breaks the old identity because your brain stops firing the same emotional patterns. Eckhart Tolle, read him. He teaches that presence dissolves the ego. And a meditation leads to the latest and greatest and most important decision of all, which is decision number 6, self-acceptance beats self-improvement. Most people try to become better by rejecting the version of themselves they currently are. But rejection never leads to transformation. It leads to shame. Bad advice, I'll be enough when blank. Good advice, I'm already enough despite blank. When you accept yourself fully and brutally, you dissolve the shame. And shame fuels compulsive change. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to fix yourself, that's when the real transformation begins. But now this transformation is natural without you trying to chase the outcome. You just do it naturally. And that's exactly what we need to do. Self-acceptance doesn't mean stagnation. I'm not advocating we abandon growth. Quite the opposite. The key distinction lies in intention. When we improve without fixating on outcomes, when we pursue growth simply for its own sake, something remarkable happens. Even knowing you can't fix yourself, you continue evolving. Why? Because you're no longer chasing the outcome. You're no longer chasing the idolized future self, and instead you become the better version of yourself because you want to help the people that you love. This shift changes everything. Previously, you were trying to self-improve for the sake of the ego. Now you're trying to self-improve for the people you love. And here's the checklist I've promised. You might want to screenshot that. Pause if you need to. When you follow your intuition, even when your rational mind can't justify it, even when everybody around thinks that you're crazy and you're still doing that, because you have this idea that this action will help people I love, will help others. You have this sense that you're doing that with purpose in mind. Even when your rational mind can't explain that. Even when you're afraid, you go and do that despite the fear. I guess you're doing it right. That's my framework. At least that's the checklist I use when I'm on the crossroads. And we only can look back and connect the dots. We can't predict the future. But from the future, I can look back and connect the dots. And then I realized, well, I was afraid and I did it anyways. Here I was selfish, and that led to disaster. Here I was selfless, and that led to transformation. If 3 years ago, someone who had gone through a midlife crisis and told me that advice from his experience, I would have saved so much trouble, time, and pain, unnecessary pain. Because when you hit midlife, it's hard. You're trying to figure out which voice to trust. And you don't have to figure out this alone. I've created a free community called Midlife Wisdom. No course, no upsell, none of that nonsense. Just people like us in the community with the proper tools and we share our experience. Completely free, link in the description. Come join us. Think about it as a Midlife Anonymous kind of club. There's this knowledge, but without a group, without sharing the experience, without accountability, you can go and figure out yourself, and it might take you several years. This community is trying to speed up the process of overcoming this transformation and make it less painful for you. If this video helped, please like and subscribe. It's a tremendous help for our free community. Thank you for doing the work.